Excuse me. Could I maybe get that headset, please?
Do not raise your voice to me, sir.
I wasn't raising my voice.
Okay, just calm down.
I am calm. I just want my headset.
Sir, our country is going through a very difficult time right now, and if you're not going to cooperate...
I don't know where a headset ties into patriotism.
Is there a problem here, sir?
I don't think so.
Can you come to the back of the plane with me so we can have a talk?
But talk about what? There's not a problem. The stewardess just keeps...
Flight attendant.
The flight attendant keeps ignoring me when I ask...
Calm down.
I am calm. What is it with you people?
You people.
Oh, now wait a minute. I don't mean you people. I mean you people.
Sir, I will not tolerate any racist behavior on the plane. This is a very difficult time for our country.
I know that. I'm not a racist. I just want to watch the movie.
I'm only going to say this one more time, sir. Calm down.
I'm calm!
All rise.
I see.
Greetings, fellow human earthly beings, Kafir, Goy, Gaijin, Lawe. How is everyone doing? All right.
What an interesting intro.
Thank you. Yeah. It took me a minute to put that together. So
the old Fortuna got me. The old Fortuna got me.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a high praise. High praise. All right, so yeah, we have a very special guest. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Without further ado, we have NTA, mastermind behind Art of Imposture. You might have heard of. If you haven't, you're going to find out what that is today. And the one and only Ed Van Halen.
Rock and roll.
Epic. All right, gentlemen. What can I say? I'm excited to have you here. Art of Imposture in our circles. Some people are aware of it. Some people have watched it. It's a life-changing documentary. I personally can't thank you enough for it. But let me ask you. I don't know where to begin, to be honest with you, but let me ask you. Let's start with the two of you. Personally, how did you two meet?
Pal talk.
Yeah, pal talk. Back in the day. Oh, wow. Yeah. Many years ago. Many years ago.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
I'm going to be honest. It was Brother Ed over here that led me to Christ.
Oh, wow.
He's the one that did it. That's why
I
he
like
became
the
my
story
best
already.
friend.
Wow.
I had questions, and he was right there with the answers. And not only that, I had assumptions that I were wrong on that I actually believed for a long, long time. And he said, "What are you talking about? That's not what it says." He showed me.
Yeah. And, we give all the credit to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And we thank him for putting these awesome apologists in our midst now, like Sam Shimon and David Wood and God Logic, Avery, and man, the list goes on and on. One Way Apologetics. You, I'd be here for an hour naming them all.
I know,
Thank
right?
God that he's raising these people up now.
Yeah, we were praying about it back in the days of Pal Talk. As a matter of fact, I remember Sam having his room in Pal Talk. He had a room called Entering Islam. And, man, that was the first time I heard an argument that was irrefutable. See, I was always in the field of listening to people debate, and you can always see two sides of every coin. But it was the first time I ever saw a one-sided coin. That kind of perplexed me, right? And that caught my attention. And it was back then. And that's why I learned a lot from him back in them days. And even now, like when he's finally doing things on YouTube and things like that. But back then he wasn't. He was doing it on Pal Talk. And I even remember Anjum Chowdhury being on Pal Talk. I remember even back then. There's been so many people we've ran into in back in them days. Oh yeah.
I hate to say it, but this is actually the first time I've heard of Pal Talk. What is that?
All right. So Pal Talk is a program that is basically a chat room with voice, but the thing is, only one person can use the mic at a time. And you have to go into what they call a query. You have to put your hand up, and then when you put your hand up, you go into this query. And when your hand is up, you get either 3 minutes or 4 minutes to speak your mind. And what's good about it is it trains you to hold a thought or a concept, and you have to wait your turn to address multiple people who have either made a lie, bear a false witness, or just merely simply incorrect on something, because you have to wait your turn. So if somebody goes on the microphone and says something that's completely ridiculous or maybe a lie or whatever it may be, and you want to address it, you may have to wait up to 6 to 7 or 8 people to go up first. But guess what? While you're waiting, other people are also saying things that you want to address as well too. So it trains you to keep your argument and your rebuttal in your mind while other things are being talked about. So it trains you in that sense. So that's what was good about it. The second thing that was good about it is you can keep people on the topic. Instead of multiple people talking all at once or people changing the topic, the moderators can always keep it funneled to the topic much easier when there's only one speaker speaking. And depending on who the room owner is, they say 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes. I've only really seen it up to 3, which is a good time because people will say what they need to say, address who they want to address in the room. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty vile. It's pretty violent. It's the human nature at its peak where there's no filter. So you're going to get a lot of unsavory language. It's going to happen. You just got to go with the flow and try to keep things in perspective. But it really does train you.
Okay. All right. So, can I dig deeper about that personal relationship or what your life was like when you and Ed met?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, we were kind of both looking for some answers, especially after 9/11 and everything. We were running around just trying to figure out what was going on. And I ended up finding Jesus or Muhammad on YouTube at that time. And, I'd go in and watch those sessions with Pastor Joseph and David Wood and Sam Shimon and Tony Costa and James White. I remember all those guys were in there. And the guy that caught my attention more than anybody was Sam Shimon, because he he has a way of, he knows the scriptures so well that he has a way of putting people in the corner and getting them to admit they were wrong, and then when he did that, we would either have to kick people, or they'd go, oh yeah, you're right, because if they were wrong, a lot of times, especially if we were the Muslims, they would start manifesting, start speaking like Muhammad. So it was a really true experience that's where I really first started learning scripture verbatim, like it really is. There were so many misconceptions that we had about the Bible, and then once we actually started doing these Bible studies with Sam, things became a lot clearer.
Right. I remember when, just like what Ed was saying, we had a lot of questions, right? Everybody had speculation, especially with 9/11. Everybody was saying it was the government. Everybody was saying it was this people and all that, and I didn't know. So I went in with an open mind. I said, you know what? I'm just going to let everybody speak their mind, and if the Muslims are getting a bad rap on this, I want them to be able to tell us their point of view on these things, right? It's only fair to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And so one day I went into this one room, and is where I actually met Ed. Remember, it was in Eolia Red's room?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of her room, but there were these two southern bells in the room with the bless your heart accent. They say bless your heart, the southern bells. They ran this room one day, and they were asking this weird question. They were asking the question of, and I'm just paraphrasing, what is the functionality of the male testicle? And I thought, what? Why would you ask a weird question like this? And it was really strange to me, because first, why would you ask a weird question like that? And second of all, every little boy knows, because he learns in health class at 4th grade. Why would you ask this question? And day in and day out for 3 months straight, I'm not kidding you, I sat there and just listened for 3 months and didn't say a word. And they would ask this question, and then the Muslim would go on the microphone and do one of three things. He would say, I'm not answering this question. It's a silly question, which I agreed with him. Yeah, it's kind of a weird, silly question, but he refused to answer it. The second one would say, I don't know. And I thought, that's a weird response. How do you not know? You're an adult male. How do you not know? And the third, the third reaction was very angry that they were asking this question. And I used to get really frustrated. I would say, man, I wish they would just answer the question and shut these women up. Just shut them up. For 3 months straight, not one Muslim would go on there and answer the question. And I thought to myself, what the heck is going on? Why don't they just answer you? And finally, I got on the mic and I asked the question, why won't they just answer? And they said, NT, the reason why they won't answer is because their Quran says sperm is created between the backbone and rib. And wow, what a shocker. Because if they reacted the way they did, and I witnessed it with my own ears and eyes for 3 months straight, every single Muslim would not answer that question, would either run away from it or be offended by it or something. It was always a dismissive response. And when I saw that reaction and realized what was going on, the only logical question I had next was, what else does that book teach them? What else do they believe because of this book? And that started my journey to learn more of what this book is actually teaching them and what they believe and why.
Well, I've got a little idea, some of what else they teach.
Asshole mio, oh
Oh, sada mia, lija.
Perfect opportunity. I never get to use that one, but we talk about Islam. Bingo. There you go.
Yeah, and so when I saw their reactions on that one question, and the honest ones would just be like, look, ladies, I don't know. We just don't know. They were being honest. They don't know. And by that curriculum that their book teaches them, they're right. They don't know.
Wow.
And that blew my mind. And so the next logical question is what else does that book teach them about reality and of the world? And then you all of a sudden discover the violent verses. Oh, wait a minute. I've heard about these things. I've seen these things, but I didn't know where it came from or why. And now little things are starting to make more sense over time. And then you start reading more and more and more. You start listening to people, and you go to other rooms where people are trying to address the violence, and they're making excuses for it. They're lying about it. And then all of a sudden it gives you a good perception of how deep the deception really is. Like Brother Walid Shubat says something quite interesting. He says, America is not ready to deal with 1,400 years of Islamic deception. And I think he's right. We're not ready. We're not. Because they've had such a head start on how to learn how to deceive the enemy, their enemy, us. And we are just sitting back on the sidelines, and we had no idea where we were in a war. You ask an average American, hey, do you realize you're in a war? They'll say, what war? What are you talking about? I'm not in a war. Yes, you are. What are you talking about? They're in denial. Not only they're in denial, they just don't know. So it's not even about denying it, but they are ignorant of the war. And so I found that quite alarming myself, to realize that majority of Americans have no idea that the sword is right above them and it's going to come down like a pendulum, and they have no idea.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and on top of that, a lot of people don't know this, but the reason why the United States has a Navy and a Marine Corps is because of Islam. Straight
the
up.
Barbary Wars.
Yep.
Right.
Wow.
The hills of Montezuma.
Yeah, from the halls of
shores of
Montezuma
Tripoli.
to the shores of Tripoli.
That song is about the Somali pirates.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, early 1800s. That's when they formed the Navy and the Marines.
We learned that Thomas Jefferson owned his own personal Quran. And the reason why he owned it is because he wanted to know what the heck was going on the seas.
Yeah, he wanted to know their mindset.
You know, that never crossed my mind. There's
a lot in pop culture in our society that is seeped in of this ideology, and people don't even know. How many people know that the most famous song, Bohemian Rhapsody, sung by Queen, who was by his nationality, he's a Zoroastrian from the Middle East.
no kidding.
And why do you think when he sings about the devil in Bohemian Rhapsody, he says, Bismillah, no, we will not let you go. Let him go. Bismillah, no, we will not let you go. Let him. This is a quote from Muhammad in the cave being squeezed 3 times he puts in his song, and nobody even realizes that's what's going on.
Good gravy. Lord have mercy.
How about that?
I've always wondered what he was saying. I had no idea.
Yep, it's basically a rendition of the Muhammad in the cave story. The other thing that seeps into our culture is, do you remember the old great show by Barbara Eden, I Dream a Genie? Genies come from the Middle East. They are the jinn. And what do? They are from smokeless fire. Where is smokeless fire? Inside a genie bottle. And in the very first episode of I Dream a Genie, Roger finds the bottle, rubs his eyes, rubs it, smoke comes out. She pops out. She doesn't speak English. She speaks in the Persian language. She walks straight up to Roger, kisses him on his lips, and says in the Persian language, "You have the face of the Khalifa."
Wow.
Yeah.
I've got to
Things
watch
like this that trickle into our pop culture, people have no idea. No idea. There's
Yeah,
tons
they
of things.
actually make it pretty famous, you know, to where you love it.
And I was one of them.
Disney with Aladdin, the flying Burak with the
Thank
rug
you.
in the carpet, all of this, it's all Arabian.
I brought that up, and I pretty much got ripped into for doing that. The Disney the three I'm going to butcher what it's called, but yeah, the flying Burak, like exactly.
Yeah, when you
Did you know
when
in
you
the
get ripped
Hadith?
into, you just hit a nerve, and you know you're on the right path.
Did you know in the Hadith literature, the Burak is a peacock? That's an angel. It's the most beautiful of angels, and that's what Muhammad rode into heaven. But wait a minute, the most beautiful of angels? Where does that sound familiar?
But
Ow!
but it's actually from way earlier. What was the guy's
Forgive
name?
me, Ed, but
Who could it be? Who could it be? I just can't imagine who. Could it be Satan?
Yeah, I needed that because the guy's name, the legend comes from, his name was Manny. And he's the one that had the flying. I guess it was a horse or whatever. I'll have to look him up, but yeah, it was Manny.
interesting.
So I want to go back to what you asked. You asked back, what was like inspiring all this?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you. While we were investigating more and more of these issues, because I was a software developer, I have privy ways on the internet to find things. I was coming across some things that were quite shocking, as you see in the film. I was trying to tell people about it. And I would tell people in Pal Talk, look, this is what they're doing. This is what it's really like. And nobody would believe us. Nobody. There were regular chatters in Pal Talk that were friendly to others and extremely harsh to others. One of my favorite one, and Ed will tell you, our friend Kai Chu from Pal Talk. I believe he was from either Tanzania or Somalia. I can't remember which one he was from. And he was very harsh. He would say things, and he would admit that he was a cruel man. But he would go on talking about how if he ever caught me or Ed or any of us, that he would be more than gracious to behead us. And he would say this to us all the time. And then we would go and tell other Pal Talkers, hey, you know Kai Chu saying this? And they would say, no, not him. He's a great guy. He would never say things like that. And so me and Ed got this idea to start recording them while they were in Pal Talk talking to us like this. And then we would go back to the people who said, no, he would never say these kind of things, and play it back for them. And they were an utter shock. They had no idea that they were befriending terrorists on Pal Talk. And they were actually shocked. They would say, I know him for years. I never knew he was like that. And so we had this great idea that we need to start recording them. So if you watch Art of Imposture, there's a scene in the beginning where Mecca, and there's a person talking in the background. And he's talking about how if you are not a Muslim, you cannot go to Mecca. Whether you're a prince or a king or the president of USA is what he says. You cannot go to Mecca. That is actually Kai Chu speaking. His voice I recorded in Pal Talk. And in that video, he says that if he catches you in his Muslim country, he will cut your head off.
I will chop your bleeping head.
And I even told him, I said, I'm going to make you famous one day. I told that to him. He didn't know what I meant, but I did tell him that. And so while these videos were coming across my desk, we're trying to explain to people what we're witnessing, what we're seeing. And now I'm showing Ed in Pal Talk. I'm showing him in Skype. I'm like, look at this stuff, Ed. And we're trying to warn people, and people thinking we're embellishing, we're exaggerating, we're off our rocker, it can't be, we're liars. Nobody believed us. And then for some reason, the verse in Ezekiel 33, verse 6 came to mind, and it really stuck with me. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it says, if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not warn thy people, and if any of them are taken away by that sword because the watchman did not warn them, then it's the watchman's blood that God will require. I'm not going to lie, that scared me. Here I am trying to tell the world what we're seeing and witnessing, and nobody's believing us. And yet I'm asking others, hey guys, have you seen this material? Hey, do you know about this? And nobody knows. Nobody knows. And so I felt like, why is it that I'm the only one that's having this material and getting this material? And so I knew I had a responsibility to do something with it. And it was stemmed from that verse in Ezekiel 33.
You're muted, Nico.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I'm just speechless. I was just saying, I'm speechless because I'm muted, but yeah, I'm speechless. Yeah, just, I mean, yeah, it just, the surprises never seem to end with Islam. You know, just all the things, I mean, no doubt you guys have seen a lot more than I have, but I mean, I've seen plenty too. And I've learned a lot this past few years, but it's always something new, always something to just,
Yeah, one of the big hurdles for Americans, is words. I'll give you an example, and this has been brought up by other people as well. When we say freedom, we all don't mean the same thing. So when you ask somebody, hey, do you want freedom? They'll say, yeah. And a Muslim will even use this as part of his dawah script. He'll say, do you want freedom? And you'll say, of course I want freedom. And he'll say, Alhamdulillah, of course we want freedom as well. Do you want safety? Sure, we want safety. Alhamdulillah, we want safety. Do you want punishment for criminals? Sure, we want punishment for criminals. They'll say the same thing. You and I are very much alike. We all want the same things. But what the American doesn't realize is we are using the same words, but we mean different things when we mean freedom, when we mean security and safety, when we mean goodness, and we don't want justice.
Yes.
We all mean different things in those definitions. And because Americans don't realize that, they fall privy prey to the dawah script. Do you want good? Of course you want good. We want good. We are very much alike. They don't realize it's about the turn speak. Orwell even spoke about. He coined this thing called turn speak, where you twist these ideas and meanings, but you use the same words to fool and captivate your enemy to overcome them. In the Bible, it says, thou shalt not lie. Americans are like, well, inherently lying is a bad thing. But in Islam, it's a tool, like a carpenter with a hammer, like a mechanic with a wrench. Lying is part of, is used as a tool in his craft, which is to overcome and subdue the enemy. So lying becomes a good virtue, a good trait, and encouraged. While here in America, you shouldn't lie. Lying is bad. So it overcomes their mind, and they don't even have the inclination or even privy that they are being lied to and overcome. Thus, they don't understand that they're in a war. You know, I'm a little jealous of even Alex Jones, because Alex Jones has a title that he uses. It says it's a war for your mind. Just the title alone speaks volumes on these topics. Regardless whether you agree with him or not is irrelevant. It's the slogan is amazing. And that's exactly what's happening. And the Muslims use that against us. And the Americans do not understand how severe in danger they really are of this.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'd like for you to do right now, Nico, if you can, is put on the screen Isaiah 5:20.
Sure, it's not 4:6. My people perish
No.
from a lack of knowledge.
Oh no. This is part of the woes.
I still got my phone charging here.
There you go. This is what Islam does. They put evil for good, good for evil. They put darkness for light and light for darkness. Bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. They are the exact opposite of Christianity.
Mm.
You know, we used to argue this concept of like whether you believe or what you believe about, let's just say, the Antichrist in some sense. A key verse is in 1 John chapter 2, verse 22. Who is a liar? It is he that denies that Jesus is the Christ, he is Antichrist, that denies the Father and the Son. Now, some people would argue, well, that's the Jews, because they deny Jesus is the Son of God. Well, wait a minute. That's fine and dandy, but they don't deny the Father. They even call him Abba. So, it's not the Jews.
Yeah, it's
Something
not
else
the
going
Jews.
on here, right? The Jews have their own issues going on, right? There's other plethora of things going on there, but it's not talking about them specifically in this. There's something specific going on here. And we try to show people that key verse of 1 John chapter 2, verse 22. The other thing is I've gotten to arguments with Unitarians. Some Unitarians can see the prophet Daniel speaking about these things, and in Ezekiel. And they're on board pretty much of what we're talking about. But here's where they mess up. They go straight to Miriam, chapter 19, and they'll say, look, it's all about this, that God does not have a son because the mountains crack, the earth shakes if you say Allah has a son, which they're right. It does say that. But it's not the unforgivable sin, and they keep forgetting that. I keep trying to show them it's only directed to Trinitarians. You Trinitarians out there, you are the worst of creatures, and by far the wrath that Allah wants to bestow his physical hand on you by the Muslims, because it says it is not that you do it to them, but it's Allah working through you by your hands. So the crime that you commit is what they call shirk, which is associating partners with Allah. So when you say Father, Son, Holy Spirit, they think you mean you're associating partnership with the Son and the Holy Spirit, whether it's Mary or not, because of other verses in the Quran saying that that's the Trinity. Irregardless, I should say, it's because you do shirk in their eyes. It is an abomination. It is unforgivable, just like the Bible has an unforgivable sin, which is blaspheming the Holy Spirit. The unforgivable sin is saying that Allah is the third of three, and that's chapter 5, verse 72 and 73 of the Quran. It says the disbelievers, surely, not maybe, indeed, the disbelievers, not kinda, but indeed are those who say Jesus the Christ, Son of Mary, is Allah. And in the very next ayah is those who say Allah is the third of three, which is a reference to Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the Trinity. So the modalists are safe, the Unitarians are safe, the heretics are all safe except the Trinitarians. That's a direct correlation and direct attack on the Trinitarian Christians. And that's
Yep, and I'm still trying to figure out who Uzair is.
Yeah, yeah. The Jews say Uzair is the son of Allah. I know.
Who is Uzair?
Who is that? I've seen the videos where they're asking the Jews, who is Uzair? They're like, Uzair? I don't know. What? It's funny.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Muhammad got it bad wrong. I mean, you could tell he was just hearing bits and pieces of stories coming from the Zoroastrians, or all the
yeah,
Gnostic Gospels.
everything is heretical. The other thing I want to do is I want to address the church. The church does not like to be told things that are outside of their normal window of life. A lot of Americans want to live day by day and not be bothered. They don't want to shake the ground underneath them because it's, in one sense, scary. Another sense that they have to break the monotonous cycle of life. And number three, be held accountable. The church hates it. They really, really do. And I'm just going to say it. And it's not a popular saying, but God does not like cowards. I can give you verses where he's speaking on these things, where he does not like cowards. And so when we go around to the church and we try to say, hey, look, guys, you have an enemy that wants to remove you off the planet. They seem to be interested in the beginning. And it's almost like they're trying to be cordial by saying, oh, sure, I would love to hear what you have for only 3 minutes. But then it's almost like they want to gloss over and then run away. And this seems to be a weakening in the church. Remember, the Pope paid the caliphate in gold when they overran Catholic Italy at one time. Why would they appease the Ottomans with the gold? They don't want to stir the pot. They don't want the problems. And unfortunately, America and the church is very much like this. I'm not saying all churches are, but I am saying a majority of what I've been seeing do not want any part of this. And that's disheartening. So if you're a Christian and you're going to jump into this battle, just be prepared to be disappointed with brothers and sisters who are not going to be behind you on this. Yes. Some may even want you to stop. You may even have to make a choice in your life and have to cut ties with family members. They will reprove you. They will not mock you because, you know, they're your family. They love you. So they're not going to mock you.
No, they'll mock you. Sorry, forget, but yeah, I'm going through the exact same thing. I'm not even doing half the stuff you guys have done, and they've really mocked me, mocked Jesus. I mean, just all kinds of things, impromptu, unsolicited. Yeah, it just, and literally a lot of the personal things that I've been talking about lately that I'm going through is at their hands. They literally are willing to let me die or set it up where I'm going to die slowly because of that hatred toward all these things and God, really.
Jesus says you will be brought. Jesus did say that you'll be brought to these councils, and you'll be delivered up by your own family members, your own sisters, your own brothers, your own mothers will do this to you. So it's not surprising to us, but if you are a Christian and you profess with your lips, Jesus did say these people say these things and profess with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Well, if he said that, is he talking about you? Nobody wants to point the finger at themselves. You know, Brother Walid Shubat makes a good point. He goes, Jesus says, I send you amongst wolves. You are sheep, and I sent you amongst wolves. And he makes this correlation. He says, if you don't have any wolves in your life, maybe you're not sheep. And he could be right on that. So if you're living a dandy Christian life and you get to sit home and watch your television and you just are in the monotonous sway of, I'll go to work during the week and do nothing the rest of the week, or do nothing at all, maybe go to church on Sunday. I'm not calling you a Laodicean Christian, but my mother did say to me one time, when you say you're sorry, I don't want to hear it no more. Your actions speak louder than your words. So saying I'm sorry and saying I'm sorry again and saying I'm sorry again will amount to nothing. Where is the proof of your sorry? Where is the proof of your belief? Where is the proof of your faith? If your belief and in your faith is rooted in the vine and you are the branch, then show that fruit. Whether it's proselytizing, whether it's going out and spreading that word to those who need it, something. But don't relent. Be persistent, be fearless, and make sure you're doing your Father's will in heaven, not your will. You have to put that on the forefront. And I'm guaranteeing you, I'm telling you, if you people believe in Scripture, he does say, if you're worried about what to put on your back or food in your stomach or what to wear, your Heavenly Father will know you need of these things, and he will provide them. But first seek his kingdom, then these things will be given unto you. So what is he saying? First seek the kingdom, then these things will be given unto you. Don't expect those things not seeking his kingdom, because he owes you nothing. But be fearless, and don't worry about what these people say to you. Don't worry about losing your job. I've lost 2 jobs in the past doing this kind of work. And the Lord has always provided me again and again and again. And you know why? It's because he's putting me where he wants me to put me. Because every place I go, I meet new people, and I get to teach them about the Lord. I get to minister to them. When I'm done ministering to these people, I'm going to get fired from this job, and I'm going to get another job with other new people that I'm going to get to minister to. And I'll always have money in my pocket. I'll always have food in my stomach. I don't have to worry about a thing. And that was the lesson I had to learn. Ed knows my personal story on how that happened, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So, guys, stop with the lips. Start doing and proving yourself approved and worthy.
Very good. Yeah, I like that. Very inspiring. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. All right. So let me go back, take a step backward again, because it's been 24 years now. About. Yeah, it's coming up. 23 years, 23 and a half years. 9/11. I don't want to ask where you were, but what was 9/11 like for you when that happened? I want to hear from both of you, if that's okay.
Good, Ed.
Yeah, the the first thing that came to my mind was, oh no, Armageddon, right?
Yeah.
And you know that was a lot of questions going on in my head. You know, who would do this? What's going on? Why? You know, I remember where I was. Exactly, I remember where I was when that happened. But you know, that's what got me really into looking into Islam more than anything. And a lot of unanswered questions. And once the truth started coming about, that's when I was like, okay, I need to study this religion. And that's what I started doing. And at that time, the literature just really wasn't available online. You had to go buy books, you know. So I bought a couple of books, the Quran. Come to find out later that the version that I had was basically a lie. And getting out there and asking questions, and that led me to Pal Talk, and started running into these folks. And that's when first place I found a guy named Christian Prince. And then that's
the first one I found too when I was working on that documentary. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, Christian Prince. So I started listening to him as well, and then that's when I found out he was on Pal Talk, and I'm like, hey man. So I'd get out on Pal Talk, and and listen to his teachings and stuff like that. And that's when one thing started leading to another, and I saw where he's the connection that I got to Jesus or Muhammad, right? And started watching all those shows online. Back then the internet was way different than it is now. It was harder to find these things, and a lot of it didn't exist yet. So, I spent a lot of time going to Bible study, trying to figure out, what's going on. And it took a while to finally, run into people and find these things, find these shows that were going on to get the answers I was looking for. But once I ran across a specific verse in Revelation 20.
Verse 4?
Yep, verse 4. I was like, wait a minute. Because if you read the verse itself, it is Islam's calling card. Right? It straight up says, "Then I saw thrones, and they that sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their witness of Jesus and because of the word of God, and who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark on their forehead and on their hand." And that's when I started learning about the prayer bump on the forehead, and I could never figure out the hand thing. And then when I finally figured out that word could also mean a sign in the hand, well, it's really simple. It's when they hold their finger up, Allah is one. Bam. There it was.
I want to reiterate a little bit on that. So me and Ed have a little difference of opinion on that. So if you look at the word right hand, it doesn't use the word right hand. In the Greek, it uses the word dexius, which means right side. So it's not necessarily hand, but it's the right side. And I've already talked to Ed about this. He believes it's the Zabiba Sajud bump. I think it's actually a creed that's on their forehead, which makes sense when they have the headbands that have the blasphemous shahada on it, and they also have it on their right arm, right, in a lot of the videos, right? You see it, the patch. And then when you look at the word mark, it uses the word karegma in Greek, which means badge of servitude. So me and Ed might differ on that a little bit, but that's okay, right? The other thing I wanted to mention that Ed was talking about.
When you're saying that, just remember, it's the same guys that have that. So
Sure,
it works both ways.
So I wanted to reiterate what Ed said. He goes, when he was looking at the literature in the early days, I did too. And he's a witness to this. Remember that I went to Barnes & Noble on Pal Talk that day, Ed? And I said, and Junker James was there. Remember, I said, dude, I went to Barnes & Noble and I opened up a Quran and I went straight to Surah At-Tawbah, chapter 9. And all the verses were gone.
Yeah.
It went verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, verse 4, verse 26, 27, verse 38, 39, verse, and it was like missing ayah numbers, but it was all crunched together. And I said, what the heck? They actually removed the violent verses out of the English translation in Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
And I went to Pal Talk and I said that to you and Junker and everybody. And Junker, remember, he didn't believe me. And the next day he came in, he went, NT, I went and I saw it for myself. I didn't believe you. But you're right. They actually removed it from the English translation.
They sure did.
Wow.
So they know they had to hide this stuff when we started making it public, and we see them doing that now. They're doing that now.
They're making it public now?
No, they're removing the ayahs.
Oh, the rules, yeah.
They're retranslating, removing. They are totally destroying their perfect preservation of the Quran.
Yeah, and
so
you know,
good. I was just going to say, in my second film, in my second film, there's a little clip at the end in the second film. It's a woman talking, and one of the guys is saying to her, he says, you know, when people come to us and they talk about the violence on the Quran, we have to understand where they're coming from. And the girl says, I disagree. She goes, I've been reading the Quran every day as a practice, and not once have I ever come across a violence. Wait a minute. Is she lying? Or is she reading the same Quran that removed all the violent ayahs? Or is she trying to use subversion, deception by saying, well, look, I can read Surah Al-Fatiha, the first chapter of the Quran, over and over and over and over again, every day as a practice. See the point? Which one is it? So you're left bamboozled to know how to even understand what she said in her claim. She reads the Quran every day as a practice, and not once has she come across a verse of violence. How can that be? It's only one of three. But go ahead.
Then we got lucky when you started making the film, and we ran into someone that knows the Arabic really well, and they did the translations for NT on the film. We're not going to say who it was because we don't want to dox anybody, but we really thank that person for their dedication and trying to get Muslims out of that religion.
Yeah, I don't think you want to put that up. That's the other thing.
I can't even put it up.
Yeah, because you might catch into a scene that's.
Well, I've got it cued with the woman speaking, but all right. I mean,
yeah. That part is fine. That part is fine.
But well, all right. I think it's fine.
It's right after the credits.
God help us share the truth. All right, here we go.
So it's right after the credits on the second film.
Does that look familiar? Is that the one?
So there's the credits. It plays right after that part. Yep, right there. Started right there. Yep.
All right. Because I had a woman right before that. All right.
Yep. Right. So this is the credits part. Yep. Right here.
When somebody says, and for the record, kill a non-believer, let's acknowledge that sentence. And if we're going to reach a conclusion and a solution with somebody who does think this way of us and our faith, we need to understand their argument thoroughly.
But I disagree with what you just said.
Please.
I really do, because I read the Quran every day as a practice. And not once in 2019 have I yet gotten to a verse about violence.
Oh, Lord, give me a break. Come on, man.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, she don't know the Arabic.
No, it's one of three things. She's either lying to you, right? So you get it, right? So that's the point.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Oh, Lord. I want to say Surah 9:5, but from what I hear, all of Surah
there is
9.
147 ayahs that call for subjugation and violence. 147.
Yeah,
they're all listed in the first film.
And I'm trying to remember, but there are like 300 and something verses that have been removed from chapter 9. It's a crazy amount of verses that have been removed.
Digitally speaking, yeah, and probably in print too. I would imagine the English versions, like you're saying. Yeah. Oh man. All right. So let me get into the nerdy part of the making of the film, if you don't mind. Let me ask you a few questions about that. What did that process look like for you?
Well, I'm not a filmmaker, but I knew I had the material and I had to do something with it. I had a program that somebody gave me a long time ago that allowed people to edit video. And so I said I have to sit down and learn how to use the software, and I did.
Cool.
That's all it was.
Nice.
It wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't anything like that. I just had to sit, take the time, find the material that I wanted to use because I have so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
It took about a year just to go through the material to find what I was going to put in it, because most of it is in the Arabic language, and I'm trying to cater a film to an American audience.
Mm.
If I do a whole film, it's nothing but Arabic, everybody's going to like, I don't want to watch this. It's all in Arabic, right? So I had to find the most I could that was English speaking, so you would understand everything in context and you wouldn't have to constantly read subtitles. Yes, there's a lot of subtitles in there. You can't get around it. But I did do my diligent best to try to find the most I could that had English speakers in it to tell the story for me and solidify everything that's being said. So when Brother Usama Dakdok is saying a particular ayah and referring to it, the Muslim is referring to it as well in English and explaining what it is and what he's going to do about it. So it's not us saying it, and it's not him saying it. It's the Muslims that are saying it. You can't say Usama is taking things out of context. You can't say anyone's taking it out of context. It's the Muslims saying it now, right? There is no confusion anymore, right?
So basically, what you're saying is you had like a bunch of footage, a bunch of little video files, and you edited all
Terabytes.
yourself using. Sorry? Wow.
Terabytes.
Wow.
I have so much footage that I could make 100 films, and you would still not see the same scene twice.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 1.3 terabyte. Is that right? I think it was something like that. Yeah.
1.3 that I sent you, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. So I wanted to ask how you funded that, but I guess it's kind of self-explanatory. You just spent your time and your own money, whatever you needed, and put it together. Is that right?
Yeah, I just downloaded for months, just downloading, because I knew it would be gone off the internet. I knew it would be scrubbed. And I remember one video that I have that while it went up, I started downloading it. 20 minutes later, after I downloaded it, I went to see it was there. It was gone. And it was never to be seen again. And I knew that was very important that I just say, you know what? Just download. Whatever it is, just download. Just take it, download. Don't even look at it. Download it. Just download it. Download it. And that's what I did for months.
And the things we started seeing from all those downloads was just, I mean, wow. It was bad.
The amount of beheading, the amount of war, the amount of swords, the amount of just the violence was so just, it is 90% of the material. It just goes on and on and on and on. And it makes you think, where is this place? Is this another planet? It really does put things in perspective. Because not in anybody's wildest imagination that it's really like that in some of these places. It really is like that. Very hard to fathom.
So,
very hard to imagine.
If you can imagine in Revelation where it talks about the myriads and myriads of those wearing white robes, I can see where they came from now.
I mean, when I say thousands upon thousands, it's not even close to how many people are being beheaded.
Millions and millions.
Really.
As a matter of fact, I found an article online that's also been scrubbed off the internet. That
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it actually said 690 million that they know of. Right, that's what they know of that have been slaughtered by Islam. But we, so I would say that number is probably triple, maybe quadruple of what they can actually find, because these are just the literal sources they could find. Just imagine the one where there is no literature, right? So I think the number is in the billions.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So let me not push back, but there's something that I've been wondering about for a while. I should have asked you guys before the stream. Didn't cross my mind. So uh, forgive me. I'm not trying to ambush you, but let me think about how I could frame this. All right. So as we talked about a little bit before the stream, you can see I'm extremely cautious kind of person. I want to be mindful of how what I say and do affects others, kind of thing. Sometimes a little overcautious, and sometimes that backfires. But this may be one of those times. But one of the things when I first watched the documentary, the first one, I watched them both. One of the things I started wondering myself after a while was the Bible quotes and how they're being represented, and how that's being received by the audience. I mean, it's different for me because I've got that film student's mindset. I'm always analyzing and breaking things apart and how it's being done, and then also I'm combating the mass media messaging and all that. So I'm coming from a different perspective. I can't quite see the things the same way others do. But is that? I guess what I'm trying to get to, was that a concern of yours, and how do you address that? How do you
Right.
reconcile that concern?
Right. So you got to remember who's narrating it. Narrating it by Usama Dakdog. He owns a ministry called the Straight Way of Grace Ministries. In his seminars, what he's trying to convey to the audience is this: look, you have a book called the Bible in one, and you have another book called the Quran. Are they both holy? And you hear that in the film. He goes, how is it that when you have all these teachings of the Bible on one side and all these teachings that are completely in opposition and contradiction on the other, how can you both say that they're holy? So when the Muslim says to you, oh, you have a holy Bible, we have a holy Quran. Wait a minute. Why would they say that? Because you're familiar with your holy Bible. And then they're going to say, you believe in Jesus? We believe in Jesus. You believe in Moses? We believe in Moses. You believe in Abraham? We believe in Abraham. It's part of the Dawah script. But wait a minute. The Quran is called El Quran El Kareem. Kareem does not mean holy. The word in Arabic is muqaddas for holy. So why isn't it El Quran El Muqaddas? It's not. It's generosity or generous. So why does the Muslim say we have a holy Quran? It's part of the deception to overtake you and overcome you and get you to put your guard down and say, hey, you're just like us. You believe in God. And that's what Usama is trying to convey to you. How can you say that both books are holy when this is all teaching these things and this isn't contradictory? And I'm talking about on fundamental things of right and wrong, good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Not things you can talk about a talent or this or that. No, he's talking about straight up morality. You cannot make the difference there. Jesus says you'll know them by their fruits. So what is the fruit of Islam? What is the fruit of Christ's teachings? We always try to teach people, look, there are Christians out there that do things that Jesus never commanded. Yet you're ready to throw Christianity under the bus. Okay, what about the Muslims? Oh, well, wait a minute. You could say this and that about the Christians and the Muslims, but forget about the Christians and forget about the Muslims. Who can really tell us truly what Christianity is? Jesus. Who can really teach us about Islam and what Islam really is? Muhammad. So it's not about the followers, but it's about the founders. And that's what we try to teach Americans. Look at the founders. You can critique a Christian all day long, but critique Jesus. You can critique Muslims all day long, but critique Muhammad, because they are the founder. And if anything is deviating from the teachings of each founder, then that person is not truly a disciple of that teaching, whatever it is. Yep. And that's the point where we try to make.
All right.
Go ahead. And here's another huge point. Everybody thinks that the Crusades was wrong. I'm here to tell you, no. The Crusades was a response to what the Muslims were doing to the Christian countries. They were coming in, they were invading all of these countries in the EU all the way into Spain. They were killing, pillaging, raping, robbing, the whole 9 yards. And the response to that beat them back down into the desert.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to say that the Crusades were evil, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
William Federer did a really good excerpt on that. He's a Christian historian. He really breaks down the Crusades about that. He's really good at that. William
As a matter of fact,
look him up.
as a matter of fact, without the Crusades, we'd all be speaking Arabic right now.
Yeah, well,
A
no
lot of
arguments
people say
there. Yeah, I mean, I'll leave it at that. But, also, I'm not speaking for you guys. I'm speaking for myself here. My opinion is the Spanish Inquisition also falls in that category. I know that gets a lot of people's feathers ruffled. But
There was less than
me,
3,000 people killed in the Inquisitions. You can look it up.
Yep.
I don't doubt it. And again, that also was a reaction to people dominating and taking over Spain. And so they felt they had to go to those extremes to get rid of the problem. But that's just my own barely learned. I really haven't done any research, but I'm just kind of making an opinion based on what I've experienced and now in hindsight and what I've learned about mass media and its messaging. And now I'm just making that conclusion that, okay, well, this is just more propaganda that's just trying to portray Christianity a certain way and so on and so forth.
Right. Can I go back on one topic that we were talking about earlier?
Please.
I want to touch on because I think it's really important. So when you brought up 9/11, and people are like, okay, what's going on here? You hear all the conspiracies out there. There's been like the movie called Loose Change by Luke Radowski and a few other people who had put documentaries out there. Even the movie Zeitgeist, which is an atheist agnostic documentary that's been completely debunked, by the way. But
let
anyway,
me jump in. A confession.
Sure.
When 9/11 happened, I became a fan of. I became a fan of Michael Moore. I'm sorry.
Sure. I get it. So let me touch base on a little bit of that. So you have the Building 7, who used to be the smoking gun, right? And everybody would say, well, look, how did that building fall down? It was never hit by a plane. And by all means, Jane Stanley from the BBC News, she's doing an excerpt on it. She says Building 7 has fallen, and yet the building's right behind her. Makes no sense. All kinds of conspiracies are going on. How can jet fuel melt steel beams? The 9/11 Commission, you had the architects for 9/11, all kinds of things going on pointing to the U.S. government. The plane at the Pentagon completely disappears. What's going on here, guys? There's a major conspiracy here, which I can completely understand the American people seeing that and saying, hey, it was the government. I can completely see that. But I want people to understand something. And number one is you can make a case that the government could have known that this was going to happen. Sure, I'm not against you on that. Probably. As a matter of fact, I think the government knew about Islam more than any of us even before we were born. They knew something was going on with these people in this religion. I'm not questioning that. But there is this thing in the Bible where we are saved by Christ's blood, and we call it salvation, blood atonement. Christ's blood on that cross on Calvary is our atonement for our sins. When a Christian goes around and asks a Muslim, hey, do you have guarantee of your salvation? They always say, you don't have a guarantee. That's not quite true. Because in the Quran, there is a salvation message. And the ayah, which ironically is 9-1-1-1. Add that extra 1 for the year 2001. And it says this. It says, Allah has bought or purchased from the believers their wealth and their life for exchange for heaven. They fight in Allah's cause, and they kill and are killed. Wait a minute. Kill the enemy, fight for the cause of Allah. That's jihad. That's, they say, yuqatiluna fi sabilillah, fight for the cause of Allah, and are killed. Fayaqtulun wa yaqtulun. That's the verse. Why are killed? Then it says, this is the promise that's in the Torah and in the Gospel and in the Quran. It's not in the Torah and it's not in the Gospel. But then it says this. This is a contract that you make with Allah. So who is most trustworthy with this contract than Allah? So rejoice, O believer. Rejoice, O Muslim. This is the great attainment. So Islam does have a salvation message, but it requires you to spill your blood and die fighting in the cause of Allah, and you will be guaranteed Jannah, heaven. That's the salvation message. So when you ask yourself, how is it possible the 19 hijackers from Saudi Arabia the night before are going out doing sin? They're drinking at a club, they're smoking, they're probably even messing around with prostitutes or strippers. Isn't that all forbidden in Islam? Yeah, but Allah will forgive all of that, no matter what the sin is, as long as it's not shirk. If you die as a shaheed in his cause, and you will be guaranteed heaven. So it doesn't matter if they were sinning the night before. It doesn't matter if you caught them at the strip club. It doesn't matter what they've done, because the next day they are going to be green. Their souls will be in green birds in paradise, flying over the skies in Jannah. That's what they believe. So it's not something that's not in your mind couldn't happen, but it makes sense if they believe sperm comes between the backbone and rib. And if the Quran tells them that you will be guaranteed paradise, and this is the great attainment, if you fight in Allah's cause and die, then yes, the movie the movie depicts this over and over and over again, because you're going to see nothing but children. You saw it, right, brother? Children getting into these vehicles, smiling ear to ear, going and driving their vehicles with bombs in the car and blowing themselves up because they're killing the enemy with the shrapnel and themselves. That is the contract. It's solidified. They go straight to Jannah. That's the point. So when you see bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb in the movie of people blowing themselves up in vehicles, it is in correlation to 911.
Wow.
People need to realize that that's why they're doing it, because of that one ayah. The one ayah. If that ayah was not existing, you wouldn't have the shaheed. You wouldn't have what we call suicide bombers. It wouldn't exist. It's because of that ayah. And that's what they preach in the mosques. They preach it all the time. They say, what are you doing here in this dunya? What are you doing for the cause of Allah? Nothing. Do you not understand that Allah sees that? And if you don't fight, and if you don't go forth, He will put painful punishment on you as well. It motivates the Bedouin. It motivates the simple. It motivates those people who believe that this is the God of the entire universe commanding them. They have no choice in that matter. Allah puts them there. It is not the same God of the Bible. It is not the same God of the Torah. It's not. But they don't know any better, because their imams and their leaders will tell them that that Bible is corrupt. You can't trust it. Everything in there is not what Allah has ordained for his creation. This is the true and real message that Allah always had from the day of Adam all the way to the days of Muhammad and everybody in between, which is a bold-faced lie. And if the verse is وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ, they deceived, but Allah deceived them, and Allah is the best of deceivers. Not great, because the word great in Arabic is azim. You've learned that in the movie. Akbar means bigger or larger. So who are they saying is Allah is larger. Larger than who? Than your God. And that's their message.
Yeah, the one other thing that I would like to bring to everybody's attention is that earthquake that we saw in Myanmar. How that that high rise, how it came down. All it took was some shaking, and that thing came straight down. Right? Can you imagine getting a 747 flying at 400 miles an hour, fully loaded of fuel, smashing into one of those buildings? And you think it's not going to cause a sway and a heat up of the building structure? And you saw how the towers came down, exactly like the one in Myanmar. So when they try to tell you it's a conspiracy, that's a load of crap.
And the other thing too is I want people to stop thinking that if Americans knew, things would change. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. That's a fallacy that we're all making. We all say, I wish you would wake up. If you would just wake up, things would change. That is actually a misnomer. I used to believe it myself. It's not. We are apathetic. We only think of ourselves. We're selfish. We don't want our world disturbed. I'll give you an example. When Usama Dakdok put out his copy of the Quran, it took him 4 years to put together, by the way. He gave it to every single senator in America for free of charge. Do you think they read it? Do you think they care? Do you think our leaders, our politicians, our overseers, if you want to call it, care? Nope. He gave it to every single one of them. Have you heard a peep of anything? Has any senator, has any of these people come forth and said, hey, we need to do something about this? No. As a matter of fact, in our CIA, we have Muslims running it. You don't believe me? Do you remember the old ex-CIA leader there? What was his name? John Brennan? He's a Muslim. You know how many people who are Muslim in Congress? It's not just Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. There are many. Do you know Dalia Mujahid changed her name to Mujahid? She was one of the secretaries for Obama. She changed her name to Mujahid because her name is Mujahid. And if you know what Mujahid means, it means Muslim fighter. Mujahideen. She actually changed her name and changed it from a J to a G so you Americans would not figure it out. This is how much they've infiltrated, and there's a lot more. I implore you guys, if you want to know more about these topics, about the Muslims who are infiltrating our government, you must go watch Usama Dakdok's material. He has covered so much on this stuff, and you wouldn't believe how deep it really goes. You know, in the first movie, there's a thing in the first movie that says that this movie is dedicated to somebody. It's dedicated to someone named Philip Haney. Who's Philip Haney? He was one of the people that was working for Homeland Security. He figured out the infiltration of the Muslims in Homeland Security. He became a whistleblower with Annie Cyrus and Usama Dakdok, and they murdered him. They murdered him. Anybody talk about it? Nope. Because he was exposing it all. He was an elderly guy, too. He's an older guy. They killed him because he was getting too close with this stuff. What is going on here? So don't think that Americans, if you know about it, oh, if more Americans knew about it, things would change. No. Americans don't care. Even the late George Carlin, everybody loves him as a comedian. He had an acronym that was called NIMBY, NIMBY, which stands for Not in My Backyard. He was right. If Americans are not directly affected by something, they don't care. They don't. Until they are directly affected, then they'll say and do something about it. But until then, don't think Americans are going to stand up. Don't think Americans are going to be like, hey, you know what, if I knew about this, I'd do something. Nope. It's going to be up to you Christians, because it's up to you Christians that are called to fight. You are in a war. As a matter of fact, there was another person that what was his name? Slips my mind. He did a whole excerpt on how Christians are actually called to war. And he's right. You're not supposed to sit back. You're not supposed to be dormant on these things. You're going to have to fight. The Bible talks about you're going to have to fight in the last days. You're not going to have to, you can't sit back. You may even have to lose your life in the process. Jesus did not hide this from us. He didn't say being a Christian is going to be peachy and you're going to be walking on little soft marshmallows. He said, no, you're going to lose your life. And if you Christians think that the apostles, who were the closest ones to Christ while he walked on this planet, were not killed and you are better than them, well, you're living in a delusional life. The closest ones who walked with Christ were all killed. I think except for one, I can't remember. Now, if they were the closest one that walked with Christ, except for John,
theologian,
yeah.
If all of them were killed, one of them was boiled to death. If these are the people who were closest to Christ when walked with him,
no, he
what
wasn't
makes
boiled
you think you're
to death.
special?
He wasn't boiled to death. They tried to boil him.
Oh.
And it didn't work. That was John.
Oh, okay. My point still stands, though. If you can't be sitting back and thinking nothing's going to happen, and you have no role in this, you're deluding yourself,
Yeah.
and
I
God
mean,
will hold you accountable.
thank you. And to use just a common rationale, logic, or whatever, just a layman's perspective on this. If for those who are non-believers who happen to catch this, if you believe that by denouncing or not being part of any of this, that you're somehow rescued from it, it's you couldn't be furthest from the truth. These Muslims are coming after you first. If you live in Muslim nations, they come after the non-believers first. You are the worst of the non-believers in their eyes. They consider you pagans. They're coming after people in nightclubs will wait outside of nightclubs and bash them in just for fun. So you're not rescued by not being part of this. And the other thing is, if you're not being active, if you're not doing something to combat, to fight back, they're coming for you anyway. You're lost anyway.
Yeah, blasphemy law is the key. All these countries have blasphemy laws. Look at Canada. Look at the UK. We are the last bastion of hope when it comes to freedom of speech. If we ever get usurped and taken over by this idea of blasphemy, it's over for the world. For the world, we're the last bastion.
You know, the Bible does say that this Antichrist will go up against the most terrible of nations and lose.
That's right. That's in Daniel 11, verse 37, 39.
Yeah.
Or is that Ezekiel? I forget. One of them.
Yeah, I believe it's Daniel.
Okay.
All right. So let me, can I interject with some of my own material? I work with Chinese students, communist Chinese students, and they promote everything under the sun, all kinds of paganism. I understand they're arresting Christians. I understand they're arresting Muslims. But we need to remember that arresting people that are the enemy of the state, a threat to the state, is different from pushing their pagan ideology. They still push their ideology, even though they're arresting people that they deem are threats.
Yeah. China and Russia appear to me, anyway, as Gog and Magog.
Yeah. So this is yeah. I mean, I've got my own theories, but I mean, so this is a little slides that I just want to quickly show with this opportunity. Or you know what? I don't want to waste your time. I could show this at a later date. But let me go to should we go into the couple of clips of Art of Imposture and share that so the audience can kind of see for those that are not familiar?
So what you can do is, I don't know if you can find it. You start off, it's going to be about an hour and 30 or 40 minutes. I forget where it is, where it starts off the purchase. It'll say in letters, the purchase. From that point in playing, I think it's safe to play because there's not any graphical material per se, but it does give you the visuals of the 9/11 and the verse and what they're doing and the bombs after bomb after bomb. And like I said, I have thousands and thousands of videos of them doing it. I only put in like 8 or 9 of them doing it because I could put hours and hours and hours on end of them just doing that.
Okay.
Right.
So let me just all right. So let me just say a couple more things before we get to that. I've got 3 spots queued that should be completely okay. They're news footage and all that, so it should be fine. But let me just remind people on the back of what NTA just shared with us, which forgive me again for puffing you up, but he's an inspiration. Follow his lead. You you're either with Christ or you're not. That's the only dichotomy that you should be concerned about. So, to that end, we've got again Thaddeus, who's been fired from an NGO. It's government related. He's someone that has a lot of public access and so on. And he's, I believe this is an opportunity for us to push back, at least to some degree. Sorry, you can say something, T.A.?
Well, I did want to say one thing. Just remember that the Battle of Armageddon, there's 200 million people in that battle that die. Where do you get those numbers from? That's all I wanted to say.
All right. So, have you guys heard of the Great Reset?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so all too familiar with it. I'm all right, preaching to the choir here. Sounds like. I just recently heard of it. It was a guest. Actually, I think it was on Eric's channel. That it was. She's a government worker. She's hold all kinds of offices, and she was talking about it. I'd asked about Shaheen, someone that it was someone else brought to my attention. At any rate, yeah. I mean, basically, you guys sounds like. Did you want to speak on that? What the Great Reset is? I hadn't. Up until that point, Janice, I had not heard of it.
There's this idea that goes back into what they call the Luciferian doctrine. And the Masonic people have picked up on this, and they're the ones who actually believe that they're the authors of these kind of ideas. And even they believe that they're the authors of the Bible, which is ironic because they use the metaphors that are spoken about in, like, say, Genesis and the beginning account creation. And what they try to say is that in the beginning of these kind of things, man was no different than an animal. And because he was no different than an animal, he just lived by instinct. And we all had this fear when the night would come, they would call it Set. And just like in the old Egyptian lore, you had Set. And so that's where all these ideas come from. And therefore, man would always wait for the shining, rising orb of day of man's savior, which would be the sun that would rise up in the east. And so, like in the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, they depict this with the whole abode of Isis and the crescent, right, the moon, and all of these ideas. What they try to say is that God was an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God who held mankind prisoner in this garden. And what he meant by prisoner, he meant a prisoner of his mind. And thus, because they partook of the tree of knowledge, they don't say knowledge of good and evil. They say tree of knowledge full stop. Because they're trying to say because of this interaction, this usurpation by Satan, tempting mankind to disobey God was actually liberating mankind from this bondage of ignorance. And so thus it spurs off these ideas that, well, Satan's really the good guy in all this, and God, Yahweh, Jehovah is the bad guy in all of this. But they really don't believe in God or the devil. It's all about the humanistic idea where man's usurpation of his brain power is what gave rise to technology and gave rise to all of these advances in our world. And they would say fire was the first element that was discovered, so thus it was fire is the representation of the kindling light that's within man. And without fire, you wouldn't have a computer, and we wouldn't actually be able to do this StreamYard or the internet or have a computer or technology today without that one element. So fire, the serpent, all of these ideas are all stemming from the first time man had an original thought. And you can read all these things from Alice Bailey to Albert Mackey to Sir Christopher Albert Pike's books in Morals and Dogma. I mean, there's a plethora of these kind of ideas. But what they've done is they perverted the Bible to make their case. Even the story of Rrrummm-ble comes from the Bible, right? He was the carpenter in the Bible for Solomon. And so they use all of these ideas to try to substantiate and ground their footing, right? And their idea is the Great Reset is, you ever heard of the phoenix? It's the black bird that rises out of the ashes.
Which is in a lot of legends.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask anybody what the phoenix is, you know that's a bird that doesn't exist, right? That's a metaphor. It doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing as a phoenix. It doesn't exist. Right. But the idea is that this order comes out of this chaos. But in order to have that happen is every American and everybody who has freedom in this country needs to relinquish their rights by their own autonomy, not be enforced. They understand they can't force it. So we have to freely give it up. And the only way we'll give it up is if the world becomes so bad, so corrupt, so horrible, that we cry out that someone takes care of this, and we are willing to let go of everything, all of our freedoms, even our constitutional rights, for them to come in and fix it. That is the representation of the phoenix. And so when you say this reset or this new order, yes, there is this new order of things, but it's also in competition with the world order of Islam. Because you have to remember, Islam is also a world order. They want worldwide Sharia, right? Daniel says he even attempts to change the laws and the calendar. Wait a minute, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
The laws are Sharia law. The calendar is Hijri. They want the lunar calendar, not the solar calendar. That's what Daniel's talking about. So if you look at the world reset from the perspective from, like, say, the Masonic order of things, everything that they substantiate themselves in is a perversion of the Bible. I gave you the example of the tree of knowledge. It's not tree of knowledge. It's tree of knowledge of good and evil. And then they'll say, well, mankind couldn't think before that intervention. That's not true. The Bible says Adam got to name every single animal. Oh, that requires knowledge. So, their arguments fall flat on their face on these things. And they will always take the Bible out of context to try to make their case. And they will actually go as far as saying that they are the authors of the Bible, and you have the profane interpretation when we have the exoteric real meaning, and we're the illumined ones, we're the chosen ones. And then they'll look at those things like the Calvinists and look at these words and say, oh, there are the elect. Well, we're the elect. You see how it goes on that wavelength of things? And that's what's happening. So everybody's jumping on this wagon with this idea, not realizing, hey, wait a minute, there's Islam over here in the corner. Stop looking over here. You're being diverted with this New World Order because George Bush Sr. talked about a New World Order with Mikhail Gorbachev, the guy with the coffee stain on his head, talking about a New World Order.
During the lockdown in Australia was openly saying it?
Yeah, movies have been made about it. Everybody's trying to get on the bandwagon about it. And guess what? If you become initiated, you become special. And you feel like you're better than other people. And that's the carrot that dangles that they always give you at the Masonic Lodge. As long as you pay your dues, you'll be the blue level guy. Make sure you put your sticker on, pay your dues, and then you get other people to come in, and before you know it, you go into a Masonic Lodge and you ask them, where's your religious book? They have the Torah, they have the Bible, and they have the Quran.
Yeah, and something else.
They have the Gita, too. They have them all because they believe in the great Maitreya. Right? See the point? So yeah. It's all a root.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that I actually meant to say the Great Purge, not the Great Reset. But this is fortuitous. I'm half asleep, and this was excellent. Just to say, I don't necessarily agree with everything you said, but let's not get it there. All right. So let me just include a couple things real quick. And then I do want to show a few slides of any chance anyone here speaks Arabic? Anyone in the audience or anything? No? All right. No worries. So here is that you guys can't see that. Let me try making it bigger here.
Y'all can hear Allah in the background.
Your dog?
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, basically this is a massacre that happened in the 90s, I believe it was. It was it says the 90s. It was some young boys from Tennessee, some of them, one or two of them from what I remember. This is off the top of my head. This has been a while since I've looked at it, but so anyone feel free to correct me for any little minute details afterwards in the chat if I get something wrong. But at any rate,
well, I'm on my phone and I can't read that, so I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm just summarizing. I'm not really. It's just if you look up. Let me just actually make this bigger. The Lily murders. It's in Tennessee, Greene County, Tennessee. Let's see. Did they give a specific date?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty gruesome. And what's interesting is that less than a decade later, these kids were let off because of some kind of legal shenanigans, and then of course the media portrayed them as victims. But basically, it was just brutal murders. It was They were kidnapping little boys, and they were young adolescents themselves. A couple of them were churchgoers. One of them, I believe, was even a choir boy. But the rest of the time, they were Satanists, and they were kidnapping little boys and sexually, doing all these horrendous things to them, murdering them, butchering them. One of them even cut off parts and kept it in a jar in his room. And less than a decade later, it was said he was being released with apologies, and media portraying them as victims somehow. And this was this was in early 2000s that happened. I'm bringing this up for a reason, to allude to just how, I'm sorry, forgive me for the details, but just how even in your own church, you can have a Satanist that is this evil and just not even know it because they're being quote unquote nice. Please do not fall for this trap of nice. Number one. And number two, this whole satanic rite, this Church of California, it pushes this thing called uncreation. And this is something I got exposed to by watching Oprah Winfrey, believe it or not. She was talking about it back then, for whatever reason. So, and the uncreation is basically what you guys shared here, talked about today. The Bible quotes themselves, doing the exact opposite of what the Ten Commandments are and what Scripture is, to turn everything upside down and on its head. And that is a satanic goal.
Yeah, Oprah's a Scientologist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it just so happens. I mean, being the B here, just being the B here. But now let me go to this presentation I wanted to talk about just kind of briefly. So basically, this again, I teach Communist Chinese. I've done so for years. I've worked for at least 3 organizations. And they pretty much are all the same. They will not let you talk about Christianity at all, or they treat you like an enemy of the state. But they will promote Hinduism. Of course, they promote Buddhism, Confucianism, their own pagan cultural practices. They also promote Islam. They even promote ancient Native American mythologies, ancient African mythologies. They're all being promoted in their courses. And when I say promote, I don't mean to mention, I mean they're drilling their students over and over and over again, not only in the same module, the same lesson, but lesson after lesson, all this stuff all the time. By the way, does this sound a bit familiar in the U.S. and the West?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what I'm showing you here, guys, is just, okay, this is anecdotal, if you will. But, inductive reasoning, I'm all for it. I think everyone should be allowed to think for themselves and share their own personal experiences. I know academia hates that, and there's a reason for that. Academia is, they want to call it communist, but it's beyond communist. It's Masonic. It's pagan. It's evil. Here you have, okay, so yeah, just all kinds. I'm just going to zip through this real quickly without spending too much time. Again, I mean, just glamorizing Islam and their accomplishments. And this is supposed to be communist China that's arresting Muslims. What's going on here? Why are they doing a grassroots movement to promote this stuff?
Well, they do that here in America too, right? You have CARE, which is Council on American Islamic Relations, which has a branch called the MSA, Muslim Student Association. And the Muslim Student Association is an organization that is one goal: to promote Islam in the universities in Canada and in America on college campuses. That's why you're seeing all the Palestinian protests and all that in colleges. That's the MSA. That's the MSA in action. And people don't realize who they really are. They are a branch of Hezbollah, Hamas. They're a branch of all of that. They were founded by CARE. If you find out where CARE came from, that's going to blow your mind. And you're going to say, how did this even infiltrate in our country? So yeah, it's worldwide. So even these Asian countries are not immune to it, because remember, Sharia is a world dominating worldview. So every parts of the planet need to be covered. America, including Asia. Right?
Yep.
So
Obama
it makes
was the
perfect
first
sense.
Muslim president. People don't
Yeah.
want to admit it, but he was. He was the first Muslim president. Obama was.
Yeah, I agree. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, it's just saturated all over the place before him too. And that was actually going to the let me make sure I get this right. The Great Purge. And so what that actually started in the 90s. I mean, I know Clinton was in charge of the 90s, but so was Bush Jr. And so even under his reign, they started this whole thing about the whole dialectics. I can't remember the actual the religion of peace and these kinds of things. So
The Hegelian dialectic of political resolution.
Thank you. that. So yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, judging by the fruits. The bottom line is that they evidently love evil. To me, and I know this is too extreme, too black and white for some people, but again, to me, that's why I always put the 3 crosses. You've got to choose. You got to choose either Jesus Christ or being without Jesus Christ, which is hell.
Speaking of that, the Martyrs of Cordoba. Do you know who they are?
No. Let me put.
So if you look up. Yep. So look up the Martyrs of Cordoba. These people were all beheaded because they had an interpretation of end times. They had an eschatology, and in their understanding of the end times, they pointed out Islam as being the beast system. And so the Malik judges, the kings, forced them to recant their philosophy on this. And they refused to do it, and so they were beheaded for it.
Okay.
Proving scripture. Thank you.
Yeah, it says here 48 Christians executed under the rule of the Muslim administration, Al-Andalus. Okay, so, yeah, and if you read about it, that's what it was. It was because they had an eschatology that pointed at them, at the Muslims. And then they got really offended about it, and they called it blasphemy and apostasy, and they killed them for it. And they wouldn't recant.
All right, so.
But you know what's even weird about that? If you look at some of the old writings of like even Calvin and John Wesley and Robert Anderson and even other peoples, this whole thing, when it comes to like Rome and the Vatican, is actually the new theory. The old theory has always been Islam. If you really, really go look at the evidence, they knew. So it's really strange to see that. We're not saying anything new. We're saying there's something that's ancient old.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to see that. It's the new theories today that people think are the old theories, when in reality it's the other way around.
If you look in Revelation 17, it says right there in verse 3, and he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. I'm sorry, but Rome is not in the wilderness. This is a place that didn't exist yet, and usually the biblical terms for wilderness is the desert. So
that's why when Jesus says, when you hear that I'm out in the desert, do not go. I think he's right.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about, because I really truly believe that it's going to be the Muslims that put out the call to the world that Jesus is actually here again. His second coming, guys, and a plethora of Christians are going to jump ship and go to the Muslim side on this. That's my opinion. I can't prove it. But I really believe that they are going to jump ship and ally with them, because I really truly believe it's going to be the Muslims who make the first call of the world that Jesus is back. Jesus is here. Whether he's along with the Mahdi or not, irrelevant. The Christians will think Jesus is back.
There's also the next verse there where it says, it gives a description of the woman. And the woman was clothed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and unclean things of her sexual immorality. If you go and find a night picture of Mecca, you'll find that description right in front of your face. The LED lighting at the Kaaba looks like pearls, and all of the LED lighting throughout the city are those colors: scarlet, gold, purple, all of it. It's all there. And it says on her forehead was written a mystery: Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Did you know that Mecca is called the mother of all cities?
No.
And
Wow.
she does have the kings that reign over the earth because of the oil.
Yep.
And that's the wine of her fornication.
So what
and
do they
the blood
do?
of the martyrs.
What did they do in Babylon that God hated so much? The idols, right? What do they do in Mecca again? What was it?
Oh, they all face the black stone. All of them worldwide.
They
Here's
kiss
the crazy thing.
the
So,
black stone,
in
thinking that it sucks up their sins.
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing. So if you read Psalm 83, Psalm 83 pretty much nails it, I think. He says something quite interesting. Not only does it name the places that Christ is going on his campaign when he's fighting his enemies, but the psalmist is praying two things very interesting. He says, "Oh Lord, please put shame on their faces so they may know you, Lord." Shame? Shame them? Why? Because Islam is a shame-honor system, isn't it? And then it says something interesting. It says, "Do unto them that you did to Jabin and to Sisera and to Zebah and Zalmunna." What? Why would the psalmist pray, "Do unto them again like you did to Zebah and Zalmunna"? Do you know where that story comes from? It's Gideon in the book of Judges. Remember when Gideon slays the Canaanite kings? And what does it say? It says, after he did that, it says, then Gideon arose and took the crescent ornaments that were on the camels' necks. So the psalmist is praying that on your second coming, O Lord, do unto them that you did in the past and remove that crescent. Just saying, Muslims say, oh, the crescent moon has nothing to do with us. Yeah, it's on every minaret. It's their symbol, but they deny it's his symbol. It's really interesting that the psalmist prays that the Lord does it again in the form of Gideon. Pretty scary stuff, just saying. Pretty scary stuff.
All right, so let me okay, so I want to do a couple more things before. I know you guys didn't want to be here forever, and I already warned you I can be here for. I'm already going. I already told that I'm already going on a 20-hour day, but I can go like another. I feel like I can go another 12 hours. I just had my second cup of coffee, and I avoided coffee like the plague, so I'm ready to go. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go because again, thank. Premature here, but thank you so much for being here and your time. I can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah, our pleasure, man. Our pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us.
All right. So I just wanted to again remind people about Thaddeus and CARE, how CARE got him fired, how government agencies, by extension and directly really, are behind this, are empowering this, and it needs to stop. It's the United States of America. And there's still laws in place that protect us. We need to make sure those laws are being carried out properly. It's up to us. We can't sit on our hands and wait for everyone else.
Absolutely. But don't put your faith in it.
And the system. Fair enough.
Right.
I'm not putting my faith in it, yeah.
Right.
For me, yeah, it's just do as much as you can. Kind of a...
So here's the only thing I would suggest, if you want my input. First, seek your Father's kingdom. Number one, beyond all things. First, do that. Make that the most priority. Then you'll never, ever, ever have to worry about being fired from a job ever again. Because it's no longer your own personal will, but it's your Father's in heaven's will. And then he will put you where he wants to put you. and he'll take care of you. As long as you do his will, you'll never have to worry about a boss screaming at you. You'll never have to worry about saying the wrong thing at work and getting fired. It's already happened to me a couple of times. Ed knows what's already happened personally. He knows. And he sees that I don't care. I proselytize and I minister to people at my job, and they always ask me, aren't you afraid you're going to get in trouble? I go, nope. And they go, wow. They see the boldness in me. But what they're not realizing is they're seeing that I have confidence in my Lord. That's what I'm trying to show them. Because even if I do get fired here,
well said.
which most likely is going to happen, I don't care, because the Lord will put me where he wants me. And that's the trust I have.
Just sorry for jumping in, but yeah, just yesterday, again, another fellow, it wasn't his fault so much, was the stream. He had mentioned PDF, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, don't say PDF, I'm getting confused, the pedophile PDF. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem. Number one, stop self-censoring, period. Stop it. Stop doing their dirty work for them, please, for the love of God. But yeah, also people in chat, the mods that are automatically jumping, oh, they said something real, and then you're freaking out again, doing the dirty work, being the Gestapo or the commies that are censoring the others. Please stop doing the dirty work, for the love of God, for the love of each other. Please stop. And so they got on my case, started attacking me. Yeah, well, exactly. And they started attacking me. It's like, well, what? Aren't you scared? Aren't you scared about this and the being put in prison? Like, because now the big threat on the internet, oh, they're going to come on your house and put you in prison. I said, no, I'm not. Forgive me for being vain, but no, I'm not in prison, and no, not my head on the chopping block. To kind of jar them, like, what are we talking about here, people? Come on, we're scared of words here.
You have to first seek your Father's kingdom, and then trust him afterwards. But it will be measured on how much you're seeking your Father's will. It really is that. Do not think on your own understanding. Don't trust on your own understanding. Always remember to keep God first in what you do, his kingdom and his right and righteousness. Then all these things will be given unto you. These are Christians who profess with their lips. Stop professing with your lips and do actions like you prove. The lip service is just lip service. Put it into action. If you're truly a believer, then you know God has got you, because when you're a true believer, you know you're seeking his will.
That's true.
Seek his will, not your will. Seek his will. You will never have to worry about a thing. I know that's really hard for people to understand, because you're like, NT, every single person in my life who I trusted and loved has betrayed me. Yes. Every person I've trusted has turned their back on me. Yes. NT, God is asking me to do the most difficult thing in my life that I can conceive in my head. Yes. He's asking you to trust him, but you have to seek his will. When you seek his will, and you know you're seeking his will, in your heart you know it, then that trust will form, and you'll never have to worry about a boss going down your throat. You'll never have to worry about what you say in front of people, because you might get fired. All the worries are free. You're free indeed with the worries. I'm telling you, I wouldn't have never believed it myself until it actually happened. But I had to look at what Jesus was saying. Do I believe what he's saying, or is he a liar? How many times, Ed? How many times would I challenge people on Jesus? Was he a liar? No. Okay, why do you not believe him? What do you mean? Why would you say you believe him? Is he a liar? No. Okay. All right. Let me just tell you. This is how I minister to the homeless. The homeless are out here begging for money for food. The homeless are out here living in the woods. They don't have to live there. When I ask them, do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe who Jesus is? They go, yeah. Do you believe he's God? Yeah. Why don't you believe him? Huh? What do you mean? Then I have to show them Matthew 6 and Matthew 7. And then I say, okay, he said all these things. Now, is he a liar? No. Why do you not believe him? And they have to ponder it, because what is he saying? You'll not have to worry about clothes on your back or food in your belly or what to wear. seek his kingdom first, then these things will be given unto you. He gives these analogies about the birds in the air and how your heavenly Father feeds them. He gives these analogies about clothes on your back by showing you the flowers of the field and saying even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. How much more will your Father give you, you of little faith? Why do you not believe him? They think about it. And I leave them with that. And all you have to do is know, if you're truly seeking his kingdom, you don't have to worry about a thing afterwards. That's the true key. That's the true message there. But stop giving lip service.
Yeah.
Act. Show yourself. People will see your light. The eye is the lamp of the body, right? If your eye is dark, your whole body becomes dark. But if your eye is full of light, your whole body's full of light. What does that mean? It's because people see your good works. You don't boast about your good works. You don't brag about your good works. The Bible says, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. But you just do it. If people will say, hey, did you know he did that for somebody? You didn't have to tell nobody, but they know. Well, he's a Christian. That's his God working through him. They see that. I'm telling you, it actually is true. I wouldn't have believed it 30 years ago myself. And I see it every day now. And that's what I try to tell people. That's what I try to minister to people. It's Matthew 6 and 7. Just stay on 6 and 7, 6 and 7, and call people onto account with their lips. Hey, you believe in Jesus? Yeah. Was he a liar? No. I got you. Now you have nowhere to go. That's it. That's how you do it, brother.
So let me just, let me just clarify. I'm not, and Thaddeus is public about this too. He's not, I mean, of course, he's a person. Of course, there's concern if there's there's a major life transition. It's not a small thing. But he's not. It's not so much about that. He's the kind of person, that floats on top, as I say, right? So I in my heart, I know he's going to be okay. And in his heart, he's pretty. He doesn't boast about it like you're saying, but he knows. He's like, hey, I have my faith. I know there's one door's closed. I have now another door open. It's an opportunity for me to dedicate myself to what I'm doing online, and so on. But what I'm saying is exactly what you're saying, is that we need to get involved. We need to get our hands dirty. Faith without works is dead. Here is our opportunity behind Thaddeus to push back. We must take advantage and strike while the iron is hot. That's what I'm trying to encourage everyone to do.
So I want to tell, Ed knows my story because Ed was with me during this trial. So when we and Ed were on Pal Talk, we were fighting against Islam. We were having really a real effect. We were putting a dent in it back in them days. And then all of a sudden the devil walked in my house. The devil walked in my house and split up my family after 10 years. My significant other wanted to call it quits with me. And I asked her why. And she calmed it on her hand. She said, the Bible, the Bible, the Bible, Christianity and Christianity. I got scared. I go to work every day, but I have to use the family van to go back and forth. And she wants to throw me out after 10 years. Not because of adultery, not because of drugs, not because of anything, but because of my new Christian worldview. What the heck is going on here? I got scared. I didn't know what to do. And Ed was there at the time. And let me tell you what happened. So I got this idea. I said, honey, I want to read you something. I want you to tell me who you think they're talking about. She goes, okay. So I opened up to Isaiah 53, and I read it to her. And I said to her, who do you think they're talking about there? And this is what she said. Remember, Ed? She said, I don't know, the devil? She actually said that was Satan. And that scared me so bad. It broke my heart so bad. That was the first inclination I knew I was unevenly yoked. Even though I wasn't a Christian at the time, I was transitioning over, and I wanted to love her the right way, not the worldly way. I was becoming Christian, and it broke my heart that she said that was the devil in Isaiah 53. She didn't know what I was reading, but I wanted her perspective. And that was the day I knew something was horribly wrong. And then it happened, right, Ed? We were having that effect online, and then all of a sudden she came to me, she goes, you know what? After 10 years, you're a great guy. You did all this. You were great. You're just not for me. What? I was completely blindsided. So for 2 years, let me tell you, for 2 years, I became homeless. I had nowhere to go. One of our sisters I went to and I said, look, this is what's going on. She panicked. She goes, no, we're not having this. We're going to get you a car. She sent me $5,000 from the UK to buy a car for me so I could at least get back and forth to work. And let me tell you, I am sold on the Toyota Priuses, guys. I had no idea about hybrids.
That's funny.
I am 6 foot tall, so I'm a tall guy. And I'm going to say this. For 2 years, I lived comfortably in a car because I put the seats down. I'm 6 foot tall, so I got to stretch out. And because the hybrid is an automated system between hot and cold and you set the temperature, you don't have to worry about nothing. I slept comfortably. I had money in my pocket. I still had my job. I had food in my stomach. And I still got to proselytize. And I still got to do what I wanted to do. And I didn't worry. Remember, Ed? Remember the Christians were like, NT, how are you so calm during all this? They said, there's a calmness about you. And I said, wait a minute. You're right. God is taking care of me. Yeah. And I didn't even know. I had to come to a realization later that, when I think about that, was it really hard? No. I had food in my stomach, money in my pocket, a job. I wasn't freezing at night. I wasn't sweating in the summer. That's amazing. Yeah. And God took care of me through a sister back in them days to help me out.
And that
so God will provide.
Yeah, too. That same sister helped me out too in a big way.
Yep.
We miss her, that's for sure.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. All right. So I wanted to.
So the Christians will come out. If you Christians are out there, you heard that story. If you have a brother that's going through this right now, he lost his job, call out to him. Do your diligence. Show yourself approved. Put in that work. He will repay you and take care of you. I promise you.
All right. So I want to show the clips, but I think I'll probably wrap up with the final words, or you guys have something else you want to do? No. Okay.
No, I'm good.
All right. So let me premise. Yeah, let me premise this. I like, hey, don't ask what I want. I told you I'm ready to go another 12 hours, but maybe at a future date. You know, we'll see what happens. But I feel like I need to get just a little more money to continue my live streaming. To be honest with you, I'm just seeing where this leads me to. That's another part of this, because I don't know myself what I need to be doing. So I'm waiting for a sign, as they say. I'm waiting for a push. We'll see what happens. But
pray the prayer of Jabez.
Okay.
Don't wait for a sign. Just wait for confirmation.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Remember, a filthy and wickedest generation seeks signs.
Yeah. That's why I was smiling when I said that. but I'm Greek, so that cancels each other out. It's a balance. Is it a balance?
Well, like I said, you'll know. You'll know when things are working right and things are happening in your life where people are coming to you and you get to preach the word. Amen. Because that's your Father's will.
There you go. That deserves a wise man once said.
There you go. There you go. So there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So let me premise some closing thoughts and whatever you want to add to it. But I'm just kind of curious, what would you like to see happen? I know it's kind of vague, but what do you want to see happen? Whoever wants to start, go for it.
I want to see Christ return soon.
Yeah, it's a scary thought, but yeah, I hear you. I feel you, as I say.
Man, it's not scary for me because I know when he comes, we'll all see it, and you won't be able to deny it. And all this dumb crap that's going on right now will be over.
Washed away.
Amen. What I would like to see is more brothers and sisters on board. I would like to see the the fear pushed aside and a priority is being chosen. That's what I like to see. I don't see much of it, and I'm sure you guys don't see much of it either, given the circumstances and the situation. But that's what I'd like to see. Now, is that a reality?
Wake up, church. Wake up, church.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna add to that. That's perfect. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and show a few clips for those who are not familiar with Art of Imposture. Again, this is not brutal stuff. There's a lot of that. For those of you who do investigate and watch these videos, please no, all kidding aside, your life will be changed by the footage that you watch. It is life-changing visuals. But I think this has a very good purpose in that those that want to deny and are detached and are caught up in these theoretics and rhetoric and so on. And I imagine your hope and my hope is that something like this would jar them out of reality. Not so much terrorize them. That was the double-edged sword of this stuff. But just to be made aware. So I mean, look into it if you like. It's available online. Thanks to NTA here and Ed and whoever else was involved in the process. But yeah, without further ado, let me just share the stuff that I feel is kosher, so to speak. Let's see.
Kosher.
Gotta add a stage. Rookie. Here we go. And go.
وإذا حضر القسمة أولو القربى واليتامى والمساكين فارزقوهم منه وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا وليخشى الذين لو تركوا من خلفهم ذرية ضعافا وليخشى الذين لو تركوا من خلفهم ذرية ضعافا خافوا عليهم فليتقوا الله وليقولوا قولا سديدا الله أكبر
الله أكبر.
Allah is bigger. I love Osama. All right. Okay, so next clip.
Whose effects we will leave.
He calls himself Abu Hamza al-Amriki, Abu Hamza the American, appearing in a recent ISIS video and calling for terror attacks in the U.S.
So show resolve and place your trust in Allah, and He will pave the way for you.
Months after this video came out last year, federal prosecutors figured out that his real name is Zufi Haksa. Family members say he grew up in the New Jersey seaside community of Margate, the son of a pizza shop owner from Albania. And now his mother, Latvia, says that's him in the video.
Yeah, this is my son.
She told reporter Ted Greenberg of NBC station WCAU that she's surprised and upset.
Did he ever talk about terrorism before he left?
No.
Now posted on the door is a note saying the family is devastated. A man who managed a restaurant where Haksa was a busboy says he saw signs of trouble.
We used to say, we know someday we're going to open up the newspaper and see you're in Al-Qaeda and, or something like that.
Federal investigators say Haksa left the U.S. 3 years ago, traveling first to Turkey, then slipping into Syria. Just 6 months later, investigators say he showed up in an ISIS video beheading a Kurdish soldier. Recently filed court documents say Haksa has become a senior ISIS commander.
And he chose a name, or his parents chose a name of a dictator, by the way. Again, from Albania, one of the worst dictators in Albanian history.
He's dead now, isn't he?
Honestly,
most
don't
people
know.
are dead in this.
Oh, so he got his my opportunity here. He got his wishes. He got his 72 virgins there. Congratulations to him.
Wow.
All right. This one I think I need to backtrack a little bit. Okay, here we go.
If they have strength, they must fight the infidels as Muhammad did with the people of Quraysh, the people of Mecca. Watch what's going to happen to your children in this country within the next few years.
آباؤنا قتلوا وهم يدافعون عن الإسلام لكنهم زرعوا التوحيد في قلوبنا وحب مقارعة المشركين ودعوة المسلمين وتحريضهم علمونا أن نحمل هما لا يحمله كثير من الذكور هم الدين ونصرة المستضعفين وسنكون بإذن الله سيف الأمة ودرعها فيا أمة الكفر لسنا تنظيما ولا شعارات نحن أحفاد الصحابة وسنظل باقين إلى قيام الساعة وسنغزوكم في دياركم بإذن الله انتظروا وتحسسوا رقابكم فإن الهزيمة لكم ورب محمد.
It would be better if a millstone were tied around your neck and thrown into the Mariana Trench
than to lead one of these little ones astray.
These are little kids.
Yes.
And they're going to be shooting live targets.
Yeah, I think I'll stop it here just to be on the safe side. I know what's coming up in a little bit. Yeah, and again, forgive me but people need to realize, and I talk about BRICS often, but my little Chinese kids, my sweetest little 8-year-olds that love me to death, they're so smart and so nice, and when it comes to the national holidays, next thing you know, they're talking about kill everyone, kill. And I'm like, well, what about the Europeans? Kill. What about the Greeks? Kill. What about me? Everyone, like, the Japanese, they want it's world domination to sound just like the far four indoctrinated little children that we just witnessed here.
Yeah.
One of the big issue, the biggest issue America needs to realize is that all Muslims, I don't care if you were a Sunni or a Shia or an Ahmadiyya or any sect of Islam, you do believe that Jesus is coming back. You do. And even though the majority of the writings are in the Shia Hadith, even the Sunni believes in the Mahdi. The problem is if you ask a Muslim, they will say, yes, we can be your friend, we can be your ally, we can be all these things with you today. But there'll be a day that comes that all Muslims, no matter what sect you're from, no matter what teaching or school you come from, you will all have to unite and fight the Jews and Christians. And that will be the day that the Mahdi appears. And then they will no longer be your counterparts at your job or at a restaurant or at school. They will all be commanded to fight you. And then that will be the day, you've heard of the famous hadith, where the stones in the trees will cry out, "O Muslim, O servant of Allah, there's a Jew behind me, come and decapitate him." They all believe that. So, even though they have differences today, even though the Sunnis who follow the Sunnah kill and fight the Rafida, the ones who rebel, who are the Shia because they follow Ali and not Muhammad, they are in transgression. They will all unite when this one chosen one appears. And alongside of him is supposed to be Jesus, who has one job and one job alone. And it is described to break crosses. What does that mean? Break the crosses. It means that he's going to come and he's going to destroy the swine and abolish jizya. Why abolish jizya? Because there's no more jizya. Jesus is here. You don't have to pay the jizya no more. Now it's either convert or die. No more. So jizya will be abolished. And a lot of Christians, like I said earlier, are going to jump ship. And they're going to become Muslim. They're actually going to believe Jesus is here. Because they're going to be the ones that call it out first. But that will be the day they all unite and put all their differences aside. And that's when we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because it will be no longer debating. There will be no longer differences in theology or in teachings. They all have one Aqidah. They all have one Tawheed. They all have one. You remember the movie in Star Wars where all the stormtroopers turned against everybody and they were all in one unit when the Palpatine said Order 66? It's very similar to that. So when they believe that their chosen one is here, it's it. That's it. I'm sure everyone in the world is going to see it too. So that will be the day. Unfortunately, you can't be friends with Omar. You can't be friends with Habibi like you think you can, because when that day comes, he's going to turn against you. And if you don't believe me, here's what you do. You go to your Muslim friend, say, hey, listen, Omar, I love you. You're my brother. We work together. I went to school with you and everything. But I have one question. Do you believe that the world should be ran by Islamic Sharia law or not? If he says yes, you're in trouble. If he says no, he becomes a murtad. He becomes an apostate.
The mushrik.
There's no other third choice. That's it. So you got to ask him to find out what side of the fence he truly is. That's it.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of experiences with these friends. An ex-Muslim, when I knew, well, I don't say knew nothing about nothing as a Greek, but a Greek that was raised in America and Podunk, America. I'd heard something about something bad happened to the Greeks a long time ago at the hands of Turks, and that was the extent of my knowledge about anything. So, yeah, so basically, I had friend after friend after friend that was Muslim. As someone who was open-minded and all these things, and all of them, when that ex-Muslim, a friend of a friend, that friend was an atheist, by the way, introduced me to this ex-Muslim. He's like, he showed me an English version of the Quran, and he destroyed the infidels verse somewhere. I don't know. I can't tell you. At any rate, he was emphatic with me. He was like, Nico, tell them, no matter when you have Muslims in there telling you this, that, and the other, ask them about this. Force them to answer what does this mean. Force them. He was emphatic with that, and I always remember that. So every time, all my friends, and I mean all my friends were doing the Dawah script. I didn't preach Jesus to them, but they were all coming and telling me about how great Islam was. And I would ask them, all right, I remember that guy. I would ask him, well, what about destroyed infidels? And they would ignore destroy the infidels. I would, just like you told me to press them, I would press them. What does that mean? And then finally, all of them, and I mean all of them, had that duper's delight, and they all walked off. Because all they could do, attack or walk away from the truth. My quote-unquote friends, my nice friends.
So there's a part in the film that I want you to play, and I'll give you the timestamp. I'll give you the exact timestamp. And this is going to prove what I'm saying. So at the 2 hours and 18-minute mark, yes, exactly 2 hours and 18 minutes, there's going to be a segment where you're going to see these guys from Islam. You're going to see a professor. His name is Dr. Haytham El-Haddad. He is, I think they're New Zealand. I'm not quite sure. The guy asks the audience, how many of you are regular Muslims? You're not radical. You're not extremist. You're not anything like this. They all raise their hand. He says, MashaAllah, put your hands down. He goes, how many of you agree that the punishments in the Quran and in the Sunnah, whether it's death for apostasy, death for adultery, stoning for whatever it is, how many of you agree that this is the best implementation of laws that we should bestow on mankind? How many of you agree? Every single Muslim raises their hand in that. And he goes, how many of you are radical extremists? And they go, ha, 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 and they put their hands down. If that is not proof that if you're truly a Muslim believer, I'm not talking about the hypocrite. If you're truly a Muslim believer, then whatever is described in the Sunnah and in the Quran, that's what you want. And if we're telling you it's death for apostasy, stoning for adultery, and all the other things of killing the disbeliever, you agree that's what you should implement in the world today. So if you play that part, you'll see it's not my words. It's not NTA. He's a bigot Islamophobe. How dare he say something like that? We're not all like that. It's not me that says it. They say it, and they all agree to it. So it's at the, 2 hours and 18 seconds. Exactly.
Right?
Yep. I know the movie's quite long, 2 hours and 18 seconds, but yeah. And believe it or not, that's actually a YouTube clip, and I can show you where that still lives today.
You mean exactly 2:00, then 18 seconds?
Yeah, so it's 2 hours and 18 seconds. Yep.
Okay, my bad. All right. Here, I'll just start a little early because I'm having issues
That's okay.
here. All right, forgive me 1,000 clicks. While I'm doing that, annoying video alert. Shilling. Where is it? I can't even find that. Ricky, my bad. So. Okay, here we go. That's a little closer. All right, let's put it on stage.
Sure.
Here. Can I make that big screen? Yeah. No, that's not it. Wrong one. Oh,
I did love Max Headroom, though.
Thank you.
I haven't seen Max Headroom in a long time.
Yeah.
Can't use your arrow keys?
Pardon?
You can't use your arrow keys? Won't let you do it?
What is? I don't even know what that is.
Your arrow left and right keys.
To go. Okay, so 2:18.
Yep, to 2 hours and 18 minutes. Yep.
Oh, okay. So I went back to this. My bad. I misunderstood. All right, so let's go back to that. Wait. 2 hours and 18 exactly. Okay, I got you now.
Yep. Yep, right here. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
They're playing Islamic State videos, and I must say they're a lot more entertaining than watching the news at 6.
Can we have the camera? Can we have this camera focusing on all the audience, sir? Can we have this camera focusing on all the audience? Because every now and then, every time we have a conference, every time we invite a speaker, they always can come with the same accusations. This speaker supports death penalty for homosexuals. This speaker supports death penalty for this crime or that. He is homophobic. They subjugate women, etc., etc., etc. It's the same old stuff coming all the time. And we always try to tell them, I always try to tell them that, look, it's not that speaker that we're inviting who has these extreme radical views, as you say. These are general views that every Muslim actually has. Every Muslim believes in these things. Just because they're not telling you about it, or just because they're not out there in the media, doesn't mean they don't believe in them. So I will ask you, everyone in the room, how many of you are normal Muslims? You're not extremists, you're not radical, just normal Sunni Muslims. Please raise your hands. Everybody, mashallah, subhanallah. Okay, take down your hands again. How many of you agree that the punishments described in the Quran and the Sunnah, whether it is death, whether it is stoning for adultery, whatever it is, if it is from Allah and His Messenger, that is the best punishment ever possible for humankind. And that is what we should apply in the world. Who agrees with that? Allahu Akbar. Are you all radical extremists? Subhanallah. So all of you are saying that you are common Muslims. You all go to the different masajids, Norway. Or are you like a specific sect, like the Islam net sect or anything like that? Are you like that? No. Are you like that? Please raise your hand if you're like this extreme Islam net sect or anything like that. No one. Allahu Akbar. How many of you just go to these normal masajids in Norway, the normal Sunni mosques? Please raise your hands. Allahu Akbar. So what's the politicians gonna say now? What's the media gonna say now? That we're all extremists? We're all radicals? We need to deport all of us from this country? Subhanallah. Allahu Akbar. Takbir! Takbir! Takbir!
Yeah. All right.
There you have it. I rest my case.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Let's stop pussyfooting around. I mean, Islam needs to be outlawed internationally, just like Nazism needs to be outlawed internationally. Communism needs to be outlawed. Anything that's extremely detrimental to those degrees needs to be outlawed internationally. It's not rocket science. And then if there's
was it our claim? Did we say that in the video, or was it them?
No. But I'm saying that people that have that kind of ill intent toward others, well, they need to be stopped.
Yep.
All right. That's all I have for you guys. Any more closing thoughts? And anything you want to? Any words of wisdom you want to part on people before we wrap it up?
That's all I have for this round.
So.
That's all I have for this round. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to say this. Jesus Christ is already victorious. Either with Christ or you're not. Choose. And if you don't choose, the choice will be made for you. All right. God bless you all. I love you all. I'd like to close out with the Lord's Prayer. Anybody want to lead us in the Lord's Prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thanks again, gentlemen. Take care. God bless everyone.
Take care. God bless.
God bless.